Login accepted.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the tech capital of the world, Kernersville, North Carolina. I'm Bobby Davis, Cod Foundry CEO and founder. And today, Kevin, let's just talk about the BugTracker. I think what we're going to, not only are we going to talk about it, a lot of times we talked about it a lot and say, hey, you should build this. We've made a video, it's got over 1 million views.
Yep.
But today we're going to do something different. We're going to show it to you. And we're going to show you not only why you talk about why you should build, we're going to show you what you should be building. And when we say BugTracker, this is what we mean.
Yeah, because this has changed over time, right? We've had this advice for a long time now. But the app itself, we're on, I don't know what iteration it is. V what? I don't know. But this latest version's super cool.
Yeah, super cool. This is what we're building currently in the in-person cohort. So like what you're seeing is if you come to our in-person cohort, you will build this app. This will soon be in our Selfpaced course, and you're going to see, why did it take us a year to make this course? Well, this is one of the reasons. So you'll see how robust this app is. And then we're going to talk about how do I use it in the interview process. And then we'll talk more about the job markets as well and say, how do you compete in this job market, whether you think it's ultra competitive or you're competing against robots, whatever you think, you've got to compete at a very high level. And this app allows you to do that. But first,
yeah, let's talk about last week first. We
had a video last week.
We hadn't been on for a while, had we? We hadn't been on for a while, so we came on live last week. And you guys, a lot of you guys that are here today, I noticed we're here last week too. So thank you. Thanks for coming back. And first time back again for a while. Thanks for coming back again. But after the fact, we got a whole bunch of negative comments on that video. I'm like, what happened to YouTube? We go away for a year or so, and it's you come back and everybody's a naysayer. So I wanted to talk about some of them because why not? So there were some there, and I'll say they were left by somebody who I just deleted. There's somebody who's just trolling us. So I'm just like, I'm not. I just delete them. You don't even see them sometimes. I'm just like, oh yeah. Or you'll see them, be like, hey, did you delete some comments? Be like, yeah, I did. I don't want to read them on there. Sorry. Yeah. We have so if you come and leave troll comments, I'm just going to delete them. But if you have functional feedback, I'm okay with it. Leave us good feedback.
Here's what I do know that is absolutely. I'm not so biased towards what we do. Number one, we are an education institution, but what you may not know about Cod Foundry is we're also a consulting company. So people hire us to build software. We also, people hire us to do direct placement. So we'll find senior and mid-level .NET devs, whether they go to the bootcamp or not, and place them in those roles. So we're doing a lot of things. So when we talk about this is what we're seeing, this is us making a living in this marketplace. Right. We're not guessing at this. So, a lot of people assume that because I think a lot of YouTubers are in this. I'm on YouTube as my job. A lot of people are. And then to facilitate the job so I can make a living, I've also built a course to do that. We're totally different. I built this company, Cod Foundry, because I was trying to find developers inside of it for the Cortex company, the software development company. And I couldn't find them at that time in 2013. And so I said, well, I'll just start building them. And that's where the name Cod Foundry came from. So if I can't purchase them, I'll just build them. And so that's where it started. Before boot camps were ever a thing, I was building the boot camp. I do think there was one other one over on the West Coast, Hack Reactor at the time, and then there was Cod Foundry here on the East Coast. So we're very early on in this process, been doing it a long time. So, but it comes from experience of what's happening. At the same time, what we were trying to tell people last week was you have to look at the market as a whole and then look at history for the last 25 years and go, is there more or less computers and software going to be in the world over the next 10 years? If you fundamentally think that's more, there's going to be more developers. If you're saying, well, let's wrap it up, let's go back to, wooden carts and wheels and let's just not use computers anymore. And but there's this overwhelming fear that AI is going to take our jobs. Now, the only people really saying that are people that aren't writing software. Now, I will say famously, Mark Zuckerberg, I think last week on the Joe Rogan said, there'll be a day when all of his mid-level engineers will be replaced by AI. And I just said, okay, this world blows up. Let's quit coding now. It's all over. And I saw this nice run, boys, and all these comments are coming out. What people don't understand is Zuckerberg or Facebook, Meta, AWS, Microsoft, Apple, all of these companies are investing billions of dollars into this stuff. And when I say capital B, with the capital B, and if they can't sell it to you, then we need to figure out something to do. So what they're telling you is, hey, Mr. Company that owns your company, you can replace all those pesky employees. Like all of those employees can go away if you just buy our product. That's what it is. So, and I think that fear comes down to us as levels. But then I watch a Microsoft thing, I think last week, and he opened up his conference talking about AI, and he goes, we're all developers, right? We all work for somebody. We're all do. He says, so let's talk about the things they're actually going to ask you to build over the next 5 years. So like, and then and that's from Microsoft. And so Microsoft has a better take on this where they're saying like, here's the requests that are going to come down the pipeline. And yes, you're going to have to code it. And yes, you're going to have to build it. Therefore, we're going to build all these tools and services in and around OpenAI and all this kind of stuff for us to build it. So when I get these negative comments, and the reason I delete some of the trolls is because you're just not looking in the marketplace, and you're calling me a liar on this. And I'm like, dude, like thousands of people looking for jobs.
Yeah. You know? Well, let's look at some of these. Let's look at the ones that are here. These are the ones. Yeah. These are the instructive comments to the back. So, Unirock said, you're wrong on the H-1B and Indian hiring. Indians have noticed it in big tech, because this was the thing that we talked about last week. If you weren't here last week, this was the whole like controversial thing that came up, that this happened. We're like, I don't think that's true, and we know it's not true because we've seen it.
Right. So I can say, and I can't tell you everyone I'm working for, but I can say in the past there's been Indian managers that have hired Cortex and me to do things. Why? Because our skills are up here. Like we have good skills, and like, and so could he have hired his friend from somewhere else overseas and brought him on a H-1B? Probably could have. Did he hire him? No. Have we worked alongside other Indians in the place? Absolutely, 100%. If you ever worked in a bank, that's what it is. I mean, that's the environment. And so, is there an Indian manager out there that will only hire Indians?
Sure.
Probably. Yeah. Is there 10 other Americans that will only hire Americans? Whatever you want to call that when we say Americans.
No doubt, because we've definitely ran into that.
Yeah, they'll reject a resume based on name alone. And so therefore you see people coming overseas, and I've talked to people from China and interviewed them, and their name is Joe. And it's like, what is your real name? Because we got to do a background check.
Right.
It's like, I'm reading your resume. I'm looking through it. I'm interested, but tell me so we got to do
because they know that's a barrier instantly.
That's an instant people. Barrier.
Yeah. We've seen it.
The other thing that I was trying to say, and maybe I didn't say it as distinctly as possible, there is a limit to H-1Bs in the country. And those limits do not cover all of the openings that are in the U.S. right now. There is a limit. And so are they going to continue to import people on H-1Bs to do software development jobs? 100%. But if you're a U.S. citizen living and working inside the U.S. and you have the skills, you have an advantage over H-1B, because not every company will sponsor an H-1B. Most won't. And only the largest companies will, because they have attorneys and lawyers and they know the process. And there's regulations around this and things you got to do, and it costs money. It's not free. You just can't just sign someone up and say, oh, you're in the country, I'll let you in the country now. They have to go through a visa process. They have to get the visa, and then you have to sponsor that said person and be responsible for what they do while they're in the country. And that's a problem.
And this part here is probably true. Have noticed it in big tech? Probably. Yeah.
They have the infrastructure.
But again, we always say big tech is such a fraction of the developer market. It doesn't matter.
Not everything. It doesn't matter. Most of us won't ever work for Meta, Facebook, or the Big Seven anyway.
Right.
So just know that coming in, especially if you live here on the East Coast or Midwest or something like that, and you're not in Southern California. So big tech is everywhere, but at the same time, there's pockets of it where they're mostly joined at. So you're just not going to necessarily work in there unless you live in California. So
okay, this one real quick was, of course you're a teacher. We get this thrown at us all the time. It's like, of course you're going to say web dev's a thing because you're trying to sell me something for web dev. No, we're selling you a thing because it is a thing. It's the other way around.
Why would I make a course that no one's going to buy?
And then try and convince people they need to buy it? That's insanity.
it's like saying, you know what you need to do, Kevin? You need to ride a horse to work, because like horses are where it's
Horses
at. You know,
cool.
like they're really cool. You know, it could be your best friend. Plus, you could ride it. I mean, what more you need? You never pay for gas again. Not happening. Like, you know, I mean, they're for recreation at this point. They're not for transportation.
And you actually answered this one, by the way. That yes, we teach, but we do build software as well. And we do fee-based placements.
And we do fee-based placements. That's what we do.
It's the other way around, not the way that you think it is.
Yeah. And so, you know, I mean, we're going to have to adjust like anything else in this market. The one thing I will say about being a software development market, it is changing. It has always changed. Like, and that's what drives people crazy. It's part of the job. Like, we will be building different things over the next 5 years. Now, what I would say is, I don't know where this is going, but if you look at Microsoft and you look at things like Semantic Kernel, for example, Semantic Kernel is their AI framework to build agents. They wouldn't be building this and spending all this time if they thought they could just prompt their way into enterprise systems. No, we're going to be building agents on top of this. In that slide I showed you last week was showing you the different types of sources of truth out there. And these things are like pockets of data that people have, and that's CRM, and it's like your inventory system or your HR system. And you can't just prompt, what are my vacation days as an employee, to the HR system and expect an LLM to give you
an answer.
Yeah, it'll give you an answer. It'll tell you it's right. Yeah, you've got, 600 days of vacation. Well, that's 2 years.
Cool.
Can I take that time off?
I'll see you in 27. Like,
yeah. And so like you can't do that. So you need to have a mixture of these. And I think where this is going realistically is you can take a prompt from a user, and now that true invention is LLM can now understand what the user is trying to say. When we had Siri and those types of things, they were very kind of like organized into like, basically rule-based engines. And you put these in XML docs when you're building them and say, it has to be one of these things. And the prompts had to be pretty distinct. And if you wanted a different one, you made a different prompt. And that's why Siri goes, I don't know what you're talking about, would say before LLMs. And we still haven't seen them roll this out yet. But this is the true invention, that the LLM can understand what the user's saying. It can also understand what the user is seeing, which is kind of cool. And also can understand what the user is typing. So those are 3 inputs before, where we built event-driven systems where click on this button, maybe type in something, and then it was very concrete. Now we can have this more fluid UI interface that the user just wants to, like, I don't need to understand how to use the app. I'm just going to talk to it, or I'm going to look at that, and you say, hey, what is that? What am I looking at? Where I can say, where am I? I don't know where I'm at. And then the map can show you, it can bring up a map. Whereas before you have to type in those kind of things. So I think that's kind of the invention. And then that's going to drive a lot of new applications that are being built, which will have to be coded. There's no other way around this. People are going to be writing software. Now, you can decide as an individual and say, I don't believe you, Bobby. I'm going to go do something else. Great. Cool. Go do it. But don't come back to me 5 years later and go, man, like,
I missed that boat.
It's still a thing, It's kind of like when you look at the stock market crashes in 2008, and you're like, well, that's it, man. My 401k.
Never buying stock again. Yeah.
I'm never buying stock again.
And then they missed out on Microsoft at $12.
Right, exactly. Like, nope, not doing it. And so like you can do that. But the question I want to talk to everyone that says, I want to be upwardly mobile, I want to make above average salary, I want to do things in life. You have to decide, what else are you going to do? And when you talk to these people, they don't know the answer to that. Like, so not that working at a convenience store is bad. If that's what you can do, that's what you can do. But if you aspire to greater things and do something better. And there's other jobs out there. You can be a nurse, you can be a doctor, you can be whatever, sell something, those are the other kind of like high mobility, high things. But coding is one of those where it's a lot easier to get into than, say, be a doctor. So a doctor is going to take you any number of short of 10 years or more to do this, register, lots of money. And then, so you can do it. Definitely doable. And if you aspire to that, go for it, but if you want to be in the development world, whether that's web development, desktop development, smart box development, there's a lot of these things out there that you can do. And then the barrier to entry is lower than, say, a doctor. So that's all we're saying, is that the job market is here. People think this market segment has like disappeared. If you talk to some of these people, like it is gone.
Yeah, they think it's totally just it's all robots and AI doing it now. It's done. Everything's now.
It's like, and if you code for a living, you're like, this is so far from the case that like I don't think I'm in any trouble whatsoever. I was using AI today to prompt out something that I was working on, and it was like really frustrating because like it would work on it and then it would sort of work. I'm like, yeah, I see what you're talking about, but like, can you do it this way? And then it would forget what it was doing and then do it a completely different way. And it's just like, it's really frustrating. And, so it's so far from being able to write a complete app end to end that it's just not going to happen. And then even now, when people say it can prompt me a web page, and I'm like, but can it though?
It can, but it's not. It can. It can, but it's kind of like, can that automated machine make me a lunch? Sure, it's going to be terrible. The chef's going to make me the steak is going to be a million times better. It's the same kind of thing. It's like, can it? Sure. But it's like, is it any good? Nah.
And so I'm going to let you a little bit inside baseball a little bit, and then we'll get on to the BugTracker. But like, we just relaunched CoderFoundry.com. So if you go look at CoderFoundry.com, and I'll just tell you what was used to build it. We used something called Webflow.
Yeah.
Guess what else we did? We hired people to build it for us, and they used Webflow to build it. Webflow is a web builder. Like, can anyone use Webflow? No. Like, are people better at using Webflow than people we thought inside the company here? Yeah, these guys did a really good job. Could we have built it? Sure. Would we have built as good as these people? No, probably not. It probably took us a lot longer to do it than they did. So like, and that's a tool. Did they code the website? Well, maybe not from traditional views where they're typing in tags, but like they still built it. Web builders have been around since the early 2000s. Has it decreased or increased the number of web developers there are? The number of web developers have increased since web builders came out. Like, we're doing more complex things now. What I would say this, you look at Webflow, can Webflow build the BugTracker we're getting ready to show you? Not in a million years.
No.
It doesn't do that. It might make the landing page of the BugTracker, but it can't do anything else. And so when you look at AI and you look at these tools, it is another tool in our toolbox to build other types of interactions that we're still probably going to build websites and things around it, or, embedded applications in a vehicle or something in your glasses. We see these Meta glasses, Ray-Ban and all this are coming out. You have a pair of these things. You absolutely can see the vision, what they're doing. They're like, and like, if this becomes commonplace, you can see a world where this could be a new UI that you're using to do a lot of your daily interactions with a computer system or whatever, because it's just easier to use than having to carry around a phone and type in and that kind of stuff. You can just talk to it. It'll do stuff, give you information. So that is the advantage of learning how to code, because then you can take advantage of these opportunities that are coming down the pipe, and they are coming, dude. Like, it's just like, I don't know what people want me to say. Like, yes, it's not going to come. Now, what I would say this, be cautious of people that are overly negative, that aren't working in the industry, that you're taking advice from. You can also be cautious of guys like me that says, hey, I've got something that I want you to buy from me, therefore I'm going to make up stories about you. But if you look at the track record of what we do, it's like, okay, well, he's not wrong. I mean, like, you may want to buy my course. Go buy a different one.
It's good to be skeptical.
Right now,
me, I'm like the ultimate skeptic. I like to research and like look into everything. So I'm all down for that.
Yeah. So, but either way, the market's going to be here for the next foreseeable future. Let's say decade. Okay. And if you're 30 years old and you got a decade to run at this to your 40, I mean, go for it. I mean,
and in that time, it's only going to pivot. It's not going away. Even in a decade, it's still not.
So you can build a career out of this. It isn't gone in the next 20 months. It's just not. I mean, like, there's things that just haven't been automated yet that we still need to automate that probably won't.
The way that I look at this too, though, is that like the negativity around what's happening at the minute, like, weeds out people who, I don't know, maybe we're here for the wrong reasons anyway. Yeah, exactly. We're here for the wrong reasons. They were never probably going to make it through this anyway, because we've never said this is easy to become a developer. It's not easy. It certainly takes a lot of hard work. It's not easy. It's not technically for everybody, although more people than you think can do it. Right. But it does weed out some people early on that says, well, if that's the first barrier, I'm not even going to go past that. It's like, okay, for me, that leaves it just leaves an opportunity for me. It's just somebody who I don't have to compete against now.
And I do think from 2018-ish, maybe 19-ish to 2022, before the layoffs started happening, we were in a 4-year period where they would literally hire anybody.
Yeah.
I don't know why, if it was a social experiment, if it was part of COVID. I don't know what it was, but we were talking to people. They're like, we need to hire a person in this category, period. And they said, we don't care if they know how to code or not. And I remember talking to a very large company that moves a pair of packages for a living. I won't tell you who it was. And so we said, well, what if they were hit that category and they know how to code? Like, we would love that, So, and we sent people over to that, and they got jobs and got landed. But the hiring requirements were super low. The barrier entry was super low.
Yeah.
And they hired every single person they could hire. A lot of companies, Google, Meta, Facebook. I don't know what they were doing, but then they came back in 2022, and maybe the stock market went down a little bit. Interest rates go up, and they're like, okay, we can't carry all this headcount. Who are the low people on the totem pole? And they released a bunch of people. And now we're back to what I would call the ordinary market, which is, tell me,
back to 2019, aren't we? Really, we're back to pre-pandemic. What was actually talking about back years ago.
You got to know how to do something in order to get the job. And we've been saying this since 2013. So for our perspective, nothing has ever changed. If it's easier to get a job, great.
Oh,
that's awesome. We're going to win hands down by showing you what we're getting ready to show you. All right. So that brings us back where we're at today. I think the market is the same as it always has been. It's pretty robust. It's really hot. It's in the top 1 to 3, depending on who you're talking about, like where the jobs are going to be hired. Every time you see professional services and things like that, that's part of development. You see business services, that's part of development. It's not in a job category by itself like healthcare is, but healthcare is up there at number 1. And then everything else down there pretty much can contain software development, because every company is running some kind of software development, either buying a system or they're using a system or they're building it in-house. Every single company on the market. And that's what you got to look at, this is what's driving it. So you can say, well, what's used in the retail shop beside me, our office here? Well, the point of sale system is custom. They bought it, but someone built that point of sale system to make it work. Then their ordering system, and then their inventory system, and everything else, just in a convenience store. And you would think, that's not high tech. Have you looked at a gas pump? Have you really think, how does that work? It takes my credit card, it does a payment mechanism, it comes back, it pumps the gas, and it keeps track of how much fluid's exiting that hose into my tank, so it can charge me the correct price. There's sensors, there's software, there's all those kind of stuff. And that's a convenience store, which you would think is the lowest tech thing out there on the market.
Right. It's not. And actually, they're even more now, aren't they? They have video screens on them and all kinds of stuff these days.
That's showing me commercials coming to me.
Right. Plus now electric charging too. Think about that. The electric grid is a whole. That's all run on software. Yes, hardware, but there's software that runs it.
And we have these Tesla chargers all over here, and
they're app based, right? There's an app. There's the thing. It's it's a software system with a hardware front end.
Yeah, I don't know how far Sheetz goes, but if you look at Sheetz, they're a convenience store, one of the super nice ones. You see a lot of these throughout the country, but I think they're predominantly in the Southeast, but every one of those has Tesla chargers banks on it right here in, Kville, North Carolina, the tech company of the world. So there's a lot of tech going around, and I think that you need to take advantage of that. And what I want to see people do is succeed and win and be successful in this and take advantage of this, because you shouldn't have to. If you're out there and you're above average smart and you think in a certain way, you think in abstracts, and that's the type of people we look for coming to the boot camp, you shouldn't aspire to do less. You should aspire to do more. You should be paid more for your talent, because you are above average. You may not know it yet, but they'll pay you if you can type in code in a screen and make a computer do something. And so you might as well keep doing it. So let's show them what we got, Kevin. So
let's talk BugTracker.
Let's talk BugTracker. So the thing that we still believe is that when you go look for a job, you need 2 things now. And I think it's even more now. You need a portfolio, but on that portfolio, you got to have a project that provides what we call proof of work or proof of knowledge. And so you got to prove that you can do the job that they're hiring you for. Now, how that happens, sometimes you get coding exams and all these types of things, and you see all this advice on YouTube and everything else. if I get a coding challenge, I ain't doing it. I shouldn't have to prove anything I'm doing. Well, they're not going to get hired. You have to understand that these people that want jobs are doing these things, but you can, in a lot of cases, circumvent a lot of that by showing a really great project. And sometimes you can compete better against other people because of the project you're showing. We today still believe the BugTracker is the best project you can show for a lot of reasons. But one reason is it's immediately recognizable by the hiring manager. So we're building something that they already have in their building that they're using on a daily basis. That could be a commercial BugTracker or something they build internally. Jira would be the most famous BugTracker.
The domain's always going to be right, isn't it? It's the domain's always going to be right. So let me ask you then. So why is it, like, we've seen people that have put together, like, let's say Tinder For Hiers as the example that you used a lot. Why is technically the app might be cool, but why is that bad for the hiring manager?
Because, like, you may not hike, all right? And so, like, going to the Appalachian Trail and riding climbing the Appalachian Trail for like 3 months is something you would never do, all right? Therefore, you're like, so you just randomly pick. This is what I thought when I saw this app. So you just randomly pick dudes you don't know and hike to Georgia with this? I mean, like, that what
you're asking to get, like, left on the trail?
I mean, like, it sounds like a serial killer app if there ever was one. You know, like, so
that's its sub-branding.
Yeah, you don't understand the market or the domain expertise. You don't have it. Like, so you're obviously, in the way my mind works, and a lot of when you're talking to developers, this is how we think is like, why does this work? How did you build it? What's its purpose? And that's what you're thinking, because a lot of times you get requirements from the business manager and they're like, hey, I want to do this. And you're like, really? I mean, I hear what you're saying, but, like, that's not really what you want to do, right? You want to do this and this, and that's their job, is to filter the request down. So when you see a dumb requirement come in, you think the software is dumb, and you can't get past it. Like, and so what happens is, it doesn't matter how cool the software is behind it. They're just thinking the whole time, like, dude, there's no way I'm going to go get a serial killer to go walk up and down in the middle of the forest where no one can find
This is a hurdle they can't get over, isn't it?
This is how you get
constantly
killed.
Be in the back of the mind.
I've seen this movie. Like, why did you build this app? Like, what's the purpose? And they can't get past it. So you have to build something that is recognizable between you and the hiring manager. Also, when you have something that's recognizable, it builds rapport, which is the psychological standpoint. And I always equate this to sports fans. If you see a person walking down the street wearing the hat of your team, whatever that team is, you guys can have a conversation instantly about whatever the team was doing. Whether they won or lost, you can cry together or you can high five each other. And it's the same way if you have something on the opposite team. You also can have a conversation because you have an instant connection of, like, I hate you, like that kind of stuff. So imagine if you're an Ohio State fan, you say an Ohio State fan, go Buckeyes. The same guy walked down the street in a Michigan hat, you tackle him. Yeah, that's but there's instant rapport. But that's what we want to do. We want to build rapport with the hiring manager. So we show them something we both know about, that we both use, and we're kind of like, okay, I see what you're doing there. That's kind of cool. Now, third, if you build a great one of these, that's when you move the needle. So you can't build a bad BugTracker, because then you're like, wow, that's terrible. Like, you suck. I mean, like, yeah.
Right. I mean, because they know what a good one looks like.
Yeah.
Again, that's the purpose you're reading. That's the purpose you're making it. Because they know.
So we've seen people try to build this from our advice, and you'll see things like just a single line edit, add task, and it comes across as a to-do list, and we're like, that's not a BugTracker. I mean, that's not what that does. I mean, like, I don't know what you put the name on it, but that's not what it is. And so it can hurt you as well. So you have to build something they know, and then you have to build a really good one. And it builds instant rapport, instant credibility, and you have something to discuss. The number one thing in an interview is to get that person, not to ask their custom interview questions, to ask you questions about your project. The moment they do that and you can talk about it is when you get hired. And I've seen this over and over and over again, where we beg Cod Foundry students, just demo the BugTracker and talk about it, interview, and you'll get hired. And then they come back and like, wow, I demoed the BugTracker and I got hired. I'm like, I know. Just
it works.
Please do it. Please do it. Like, but you have to be able to talk about it. You can't come to a self-paced course here at Cod Foundry and just run through the videos, not understand anything, get it compiling, put it on your portfolio, and just send it out and go, hey, there's my BugTracker. I built it. But if you can't talk about it, you'll lose. So you have to understand the nuance of our advice is build it, internalize it, know how it works, and talk about how it works. And that's what we do here at Cod Foundry. And that's why we're successful. It's not magic. We go through a lot of effort to do this, but that's why it works. So let's show them. And by the way, Kevin, for the first time ever, there's a URL that you can travel to see this. We'll let people go look at it.
Oh, are we? We're going to push. We're going to go to that. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you want to go see this,
we're going to do that at the end, though, just in case.
At the end, you can go look at it. You can go play with it. It's fully functional. If you put your company on it, we may charge you one day, but so you can go look at it and go, okay, this is what they're talking about. Now, are we going to give the source code away for this? No, there's no public repo. There's no GitHub that you can go get, download it, and get it going. Unfortunately, to do that, you need to come to the course for us so we can tell you how to do it so that you can actually use this to get a job. So that's how it is. All right.
Okay.
So number one thing.
What am I looking at?
This is the landing page. All right. And so you can scroll through this landing page here, and it's got the technology. Then we got our ad or whatever. This could be an ad to your portfolio or whatever, something like that, a CTA. And then it's got in what it does. So the number one feature we have in here is something called multi-tenancy, which most people, when they're building this on their own, they don't do, which means that an individual company can register for this site and use and create their own version of this BugTracker, which means that their tickets and their users and everything belong to them and then alone, and their tickets don't cross-pollinate with other companies. And so this is multi-tenancy. This is a huge feature that most commercial enterprise software has to take advantage of. Most people, when they build this, they build one BugTracker that anyone can sign up for, maybe, but all the tickets are kind of cross-pollinated together. So this has multi-tenancy in it. Role-based control, which is important. You must have security, which means that each user has their own roles, what they can do. We have submitter, we have developer, we have project manager, and we have admin. And those are the 4 roles that we support out of the box. Can you add as many roles as you want? Absolutely. If you take our course, we'll show you how to do role-based security. We'll have 4, but you can add 6 or 10 or whatever you want.
Yeah.
Inside of us, we have project management. And this goes into specifically what a BugTracker is, which is a project, a piece of software. And inside that software, it has tickets. And so like the project is the overwhelming piece of software, like I'm building a portfolio. And then inside a portfolio are all the items that I have to either fix or do. So I can have things that are work-based items that I need to do, complete, a defect I need to fix. Those are projects, and the tickets are the actual work items I need to do. This is your to-do list, if you want to make it simpler, the ticket, but it's grouped up under a project. And then if something changes about your ticket that you're assigned to, then you get a notification. It says, hey, you got something happened over here. Someone answered your message, your comment, or someone uploaded a document, or something happened on this ticket that you're responsible for, that you're assigned to, and you get a notification. And then we make this really cool API documentation where you can go look at the endpoints. It's pretty cool. We may bring that up. We didn't plan that ahead of time, but that's another thing that we do here. So like all of those things are why you show this off. Boom, you win. Okay. So we can try it out. Let me show, that's what it is. So we have a really great landing page. Now, this is how you use the landing page. The landing page is your first foray into, you applied for a job, you call the manager directly and say, hey, man, I just applied for your job. I've got a portfolio, but hey, I want to show you this BugTracker thing I've been working on. Check out, here's the link to it. Now, notice ours is published. Yours should be published too. It's not a GitHub repo. You can't expect someone to take your repo, clone it down, compile it, get it working, install Postgres and all this stuff to get it working. They're just not going to do it. It doesn't matter how technical you are. I've talked to hiring managers that we'll get them on YouTube. I review every line of code that people send to me. And I'm like, no, you don't. You're just saying that because you don't like the advice we're giving, but you don't do that. I could promise you, I've yet to see that happen. And so if you send them a working link, they don't have to do that. They can evaluate it really quickly. So that landing page has got to pop, because that's the first thing they see about this. And they'll go, okay, show me more. And now if you have a bad landing page, you'll go, this guy ain't any good. Swipe left. So if we made Tinder for developers, like that would be all landing pages. This is what it would be.
Yep.
So you could just swipe left on the landing page.
Hold on then. Just one other thing about this too then. If I go to, hold on, if I pull this back up here. If I go to login here, by the way, just some people, I've seen some other bug trackers or some other applications where this is the first screen that you see.
Nope.
Which it's not, and they don't even have this part down here, which I'll talk about this part too, the demo logins.
So we think if you're going to send it out to people and it's they don't know you, you don't know them, the first thing they're going to do is not give you an email address, and they're not going to create a login, right? At least not initially. They're not going to do it. And they'll say, hey, just log in as a demo user. And so you need all these demo logins that they can go ahead and look at and say, how does this work? Oh, cool. I don't have to log in, give you anything. And you want to make the barrier to entry to look at your software as low as possible. One click, they're in the app. But your app needs to have security on it because that's a necessary skill you want to showcase. So that's kind of how it works,
Right.
So we have that built into our login page and how we can facilitate that. We create these logins. We also have data seeding methods inside of it where the custom company, the demo company gets seeded. We have a way to reset that company real easily in case someone comes and does something malfeasance with it, plays with it.
Yeah, which is important when you're using a demo app. If you're showing up to an interview and somebody's logged into your public application and written horrible things on a ticket, you want to show that in a demo.
Right. So we have and what I tell students is you have your demo company for them to look at. You need to create another company that you control with the login upon username and password so you know what the data is. And that's the one you show during the interview. They're looking at the demo company, and that can be whatever seeded data, but then you're showing them how to do this. So like you want to have two companies at the minimum, the demo company and the company you're using for interview that you can control so people can't log in and just mess with your data.
Right.
So that way your demo is consistent. And so when you log in, this is the dashboard that we show you how to build out. Now, one of the things this is built with, we're building this currently right now with Blazor. This runs client side and server side. So we're using auto components to do this. So right off the bat, this is an enterprise way to build applications. And so this is hosted. So this is lightning quick, pretty quick. If you refresh the page, you'll see how lightning quick it is. Pretty quick. You got to remember there's a lot of SQL going on behind the scenes. We're building out all of these data things really quick, right? And so we have charts, we have all this visual components and about the tickets, about the information. And so this is the primary thing that we think a BugTracker should be, a landing page where I'm going to look at what project I'm on, what tickets do I have to do, what are my open tickets, what are my closed tickets, and that's what you're looking at here. You can also see recent activity and notifications. So do I have anything that I need to be looking at right now? And so we're going to build this. Now we're using a component library here inside of Blazor called Blazor. So we'll show you how to do that. And once you get into a ticket, you can just click on it and view it. And this is your ticket view. And this is like the heart of the application. And what we tell students is, if you know how this works, then you can talk about this and you drive your people into the ticket detail page. It's what it is. And you tell them, this is how this works. And this is where you focus your efforts of things you have to memorize by memory, how something works. Now, what's cool about demoing software, if you're running it inside of Visual Studio or whatever it is, if they ask you something and you can't remember, you're like, oh, I don't remember exactly how that works. Don't say, I don't know how that works. I can't remember. Say, hey, let me show you the code. So then you've turned a closed book test into open book test at this point, and you're suddenly now you're showing the software code behind this page, and that should jog your memory. Like you wrote it yourself, so like you should know how it works at that point. Now, I would say this: we caution every person: if you show code, know that.
Gotta know how it works.
Don't show pages you haven't looked at in 6 months and go, yeah, I don't remember how that works. That's pretty fancy that I was doing that, but I don't remember. But now here's the things, what makes a BugTracker a BugTracker. First off, you see a field like a name at the top, then we name the ticket. And then it is who is the submitter. That's a role. So this is, what's her name? Daphne something.
Yep.
She submitted the ticket, whoever that is. That could be an exterior user, it could be an internal user. And then it's assigned
It's us for the purpose of this, by the way. That's who we're signed in as. That's our demo.
we're signed in as her. So we submitted this ticket, and then this has been assigned to a developer on staff here, and he's working on it. Okay. Now we have a priority where, it's medium priority. I don't really care. We always laugh. Every bug is high. I mean, no matter what, I don't even know why we have priorities. They're always high. But then there's a status. Is like, what is the status it's in? Is it open? Has it been worked on? Is it complete? Is it testing? And this is the workflow that these tickets go through. And it's largely driven by status. Now with Jira, it can get really complex. Okay. This particular software doesn't integrate into GitHub Issues, which is a thing that you could do. You could take this piece of software and then integrate it into GitHub Issues and look at commits and all that kind of stuff. And that would be a really cool addition to this piece of software. And then you're on something on par with Jira, so it's pretty interesting. Then you have a type is, what type of ticket is this? A work item, a defect, a change request. You can make these up. You can put whatever floats your boat there. Then you got a description. And then in here, you can see we got comments going on, discussion in and around the ticket. We think that's really important for you to see this. A lot of times this discussion happens over in Slack or a Teams channel. And then you also have your tickets somewhere else. And this is why people like software track or defect tracking systems, is because all the communication about the ticket is in one spot.
Right.
It's not in a Slack channel or a Teams channel somewhere like that, where they talked about it over there and you got to go there to get your requirements. Here you can get all your requirements. And then you can add a comment, and then there can be screenshots, particularly how do I replicate this? I need a screenshot. And this is what here where we have attachments, and these attachments.
What kind of things can you add here? What is the
PDF? You can click add there and it'll show you like what you can add, but pretty much almost anything. And you can hit upload
file. Okay, let's do upload file. I don't want to because it's going to pull up my.
Yeah, but like you can upload a PDF, a Word doc, a picture, and it figures out like based on the extension what it can do and show. So. And then and of course, this is custom work. So you can say, I only want PDFs, right, or, only want images, or, those kind of things. But we allow just about any kind of document. And if it doesn't, the browser can't render it, then it'll instruct you to download it. So that's kind of cool. We don't take zip files or exes, but that's just something we do. All right. And this is the history. Things are happening on this ticket. And then you can go look at the timeline. So that's kind of what's going. So then down here, this is the view mode, and you can go down there and click the edit down the bottom right there. And then here's an edit mode of that same ticket, where now you have an edit mode where you can change things like the ticket name, the description.
Reassign it.
Yeah, reassign it to someone. Some of the edit takes place in the other view we're looking at it, and some of it doesn't. So we have two views that we can put together. And so that's what we do. And you can see here, pretty complete. It's pretty cool. And then you can probably understand like why people like this. So they're like, okay, that's a professional piece of software.
Oh, that's where I changed that, by the way. Look too.
Yeah, see it.
I changed it from medium to urgent when I typed
there
it
goes.
here.
It actually works. So, that's kind of stuff. Now, the other articles, you got projects, you got companies. Projects is a collection of tickets. A company is a collection of projects. So that's the hierarchy there that we have. And then users are attached to a company, and then users are attached to roles, and then users are throughout the system. And so we have this. Now you notice here too that our software is branded. We made a logo here, the BugTracker logo. I think that you should call it something other than the BugTracker. Give it a name, give it a fancy name. We use the BugTracker because that's our brand, that's our brand. That's what we came up with. And so you don't need to use our branding for this, because you want to own this as your own, make it your own. And then
you want these links back to your portfolio and have your name on this. And
not Cod Foundry, don't do that. Especially even if you came into the cohort, we tell every student, brand it, own it, talk about it. It's just yours. This isn't ours. Never tell it. Well, I was at Cod Foundry, I built this thing. Never say that. I built this thing. It doesn't matter when you build it or under whose tutelage you built it. You own it, and you can talk about it.
Because ultimately, we know that you built it too. You don't come to Cod Foundry and like we don't.
No, even in the Selfpaced course,
we don't give you the BugTracker.
We get complaints all the time.
You build it.
I gotta type all this in. Yeah, it's called coding. Can I just get the repo? No, we're not doing that. It's like you need to code it up in order to learn how to do it. And so that's just, if anyone's taking a Selfpaced course, they know. So I think this is going to be super encouraging for a lot of people to say, okay, this is what this thing is. Okay, this is what you mean by BugTracker. And when we say build this, you're probably saying, I don't know what the comments are like. I can't see the comments, but like, be honest. Let me put it in the comments. If you showed this off and you could talk about it, what do you think your job chances are? And that is the core of our mission here. Like, that is it. We want to give you something that's so impressive that like they're like, wow. And I can tell you, students have went to an interview, got turned down, and they hear my voice in their back of the head, just demo it, just demo it. And I remember the student, it was just like last year, he said, I got turned down, I got to know. They said, we love what you're doing. We got your moxie. We like everything about you. Just don't, we're going to look in a different direction. He goes, thank you for that. I appreciate the feedback. He said, since we're here, can I just show you something I'm working on? I'm proud of it. Can we just geek out for a second and let me show you what I've been working on? And I'd like to get some more feedback from you to see.
Right, maybe you can help me with it.
Yeah. What are your thoughts? He demos this BugTracker, and the guy goes, okay, what if I create a position for you? And he turned a no into he got hired. And the only thing I can tell you the difference was between the interview process is in one part of the interview, he didn't show it. The second part of the interview, he did, and the guy changed his mind. And I've seen people where they've been turned down multiple times. And when I see people say, I've been to
your first
6 interviews, I can't get hired. And I'm like, what are you demoing?
Yeah, your first question is always, did you demo the BugTracker? And you always tell me, I asked someone, so they didn't demo it. I'm like, well,
I didn't have the time. It didn't feel right. I'm like, dude, you got to go in there and show it. This is between eating and not eating. You got to think in that terms, like you must see this. Because if you show that software we just showed you, I mean, it's pretty cool. And I also talk about students in here. It's like, you come to the boot camp, and our boot camp's, $15,000 to come here. I said, if you come here and pay us $15,000 to come to a boot camp and you don't show it off during the interview, it's like buying a brand new car and walking to work. Like, what are you doing? You got a Honda Accord sitting in the driveway there, and you won't use it. Like, why? You gotta drive it, get it out, show it off. I mean, and that's the thing that you need to have projects to win. If you go in there and you're like a self-taught learner or even a boot camp grad, and you got no proof of work whatsoever, it's really hard for them to hire you. You've got to really nail some stuff. Now, I will say this, the skill that you have that we teach here too is talking examples. So like if someone asks you a technical question, you need to talk into an example, not an academic. If someone asks you, what is a class in C#, you don't need to say a collection of properties or, whatever your academic answer for a class is. You're like, oh, I got tons of classes I've worked with. Let me show you the ticket class inside of the BugTracker. You see the difference between the two answers? And suddenly you're over in code, you're showing off a project that you made, and you're answering the guy's technical question with an example. Those people win. I will say this, the people that say, I can learn this on my own, I don't need any help whatsoever. If you sat down and talked to them long enough, you would see right away they instinctively talk this way. Most of us don't. Most of us answer the question directly. They very rarely can demonstrate knowledge in an answer. And also very few of us even have examples to show. And I think that's the difference between, I would say 5% of like self-taught learners, maybe 10%. And if you're in that class, God love you, man. You're going to be hired no matter what. And we've seen people come through our boot camp like, wow, you're going to get hired instantly. And they do.
Yeah.
Because you instinctively talk in examples, you can explain things well. And then you add on a demo artifact on top of that. It's easy to get hired. Like, it's easy. It's really hard to get hired without anything. Also, the other thing people do is they go through the learning exercise and they don't realize their skills are down here. They think what they made is awesome, but they've never had a mentor, a teacher, or a coach to come back and go, I see what you did there. And that's one of the things we do at Cod Foundry. Like, we
always push, don't we?
You need to get up here. Like, that's not great. I mean, let's be honest. I'm trying to get you a job. You need to get up here. And so that's kind of what I tell every student coming inside the class is, how are you with constructive criticism? How are you with that? Because we want to help you. We want to coach you. Have you ever played sports before? Is the other thing I ask. Yeah, have you been on a sports team? Yeah. Has the coach ever yelled at you? Yeah. Okay. You're going to let it here. Okay. And not that we yell
we're not going to yell at you.
But we're going to tell you like when it's good or when it's bad. And we're not going to be your mom who go, wow, that's an awesome webpage, son. You did great. And it's like, it's crayons and like, outside the lines, you see your 5-year-old doing it. Like, it's great, honey. And that's personal affirmations, and we need those things. But when we're trying to get a job, we need someone to tell us where we're at on this totem pole of skill set. Because someone's going to tell us when we go interview, and they're going to we're going to look in a different direction. They may be nice about it, but no one's telling me that my stuff isn't up to speed. Or they're telling you, you don't need anything. The bad advice I see out there online too is like these people with 30-year careers are telling people just starting out, you don't need to fill out coding challenges. And I'm screaming to my lungs at the top. It's like, yeah, you do. Like, they're not going to hire you if you don't. So you have to do it. Like, that's the way it is.
Yeah. Now you don't have to, but everyone else does.
Yeah. You worked at American Airlines, and yeah, they're going to hire you no matter what. I mean, so that's where I see the bad advice coming from seasoned people. That's like, I know what I'm talking about. 100% you do. But you've forgotten what it's like to be a first-year dev trying to find a job. That's the world we live in. Like that's the one where we talk to companies and go, why didn't you hire John? And we try to like understand like what they're looking for and try to figure out like what they're doing. And we also know what moves the needle. And we say, when you show that BugTracker, it moves the needle. Now I can't promise you that you're going to win every interview you go to, but your chances go very high if you're demoing this adequately. And if you've demoed a BugTracker and you went to Cod Foundry 5 interviews, you demoed 5 times, you didn't get a job, I promise you did something wrong. Like you're doing something wrong. And so we've asked people come in and say
something else. Yeah.
Show me your demo. And we're like, yeah, that's terrible. Like you've got the software, but you can't talk about it yet. Here's the things you needed to be able to do. And this is what you do. And so that's what we try to coach people on. And we've coached people even in the Selfpaced course. They come in online and they say, hey, tell me about this or show me about this. And we talk to them online, and we've helped them get jobs too. So like it works either way. You got to have an artifact, and you got to be able to talk about it. It's a 2-step process. If you can do those 2 things, you're pretty much going to land in the marketplace. You also, if you're building in Blazor, go interview for Blazor jobs. Don't interview for a React job. If you're in for React, build the BugTracker in React. That's not our course. Great.
Right.
We have seen people in our Discord build the MVC version of this, turn around, and then recreate it in React. And we're like, that person's getting hired, because now they understand like, what do I need to do and what do I need to build? And they're still building the BugTracker. They can still do it. They're going to get hired doing it because they know how to code at this point. And that's the whole point of this, is showing that you have proof of work. You can show them, I know what I'm doing, and I can contribute here at your company, because I can build something like that. And so that's the secret.
Let's look at some questions and comments here real quick. So here's one directly related. He wants to know, if we're doing the self-paced course, should we wait for the updated version?
No, don't wait for I will say this, just keep doing what you're doing. When the updated version comes out, you can move over and do that too. You'll learn new stuff either way. I still say MVC is a sought after skill still today in the marketplace. So you may get out and look at a .NET job and like, hey, they're doing MVC and not Blazor. That's good. So, I mean, I think knowing more is better than knowing less. But if you're starting when the Blazor course comes out and you're just starting, do the Blazor course. But right now, keep doing what you're doing. Learn how to code.
I would also say that fundamentally at the beginning, it's kind of similar anyway. Yeah.
It's the same thing. I mean, at the end of the day, we've got to know HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, because that's going to be interaction with the DOM still today. And then how does MVC handle that? How does Blazor handle that? Are specific to the frameworks. But at the end of the day, they are the same kind of thing. You got a form on a page, you're hitting a button, you're posting it. The BugTracker will be the same, whether it's written in MVC or Blazor.
And actually, it kind of relates to that too. Anton, the feelings on Blazor would replace MVC.
Yeah, that's what it's intended to do. What I would say is they gave it a new name, but what you're looking at is ASP.NET Core .8 and .9. MVC ASP.NET Core was 5, 6, and 7. It has replaced it. Now, are people still using MVC? Absolutely, 100%. They're still doing it. They're still using web forms. There's some people still doing classic ASP. So these things will stay around forever, but Blazor is the next iteration of ASP.NET. They just didn't name it that. And they gave it a fancy name because it's a new framework. And there are fundamentally some differences between the frameworks. You have WebAssembly runs on client side, MVC totally runs server side, and then you have server side as well inside of Blazor. So yeah, if there's a new .NET project being spun up and the team is building MVC at this point and they want to stay with C# and ASP.NET, they're building it in Blazor. I would almost guarantee it.
Right, they're going to build it that way. From scratch.
Yeah. Yep.
Let's see. I was just halfway through building the blog, looking forward to starting first BugTracker, the one project to go on this journey. That's cool. So you might, depends on when you get that, you may be doing the new version or not. Again, we don't have a date for the new version yet, but it's obviously it's built and we've recorded a bunch of videos.
We're recording it. So there's people recording it right now as I speak. So it's been recorded. So I don't know the date yet.
Yeah, which by the way is the same question that Kevin's asking. Any updates to BugTracker?
It's coming. Yep, it's coming. It'll be all in Blazor, so it's definitely coming. So Kevin's edited a lot of it, and we got a lot more to edit. So,
and there's more stuff coming up literally every day.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's see. Real says, got an idea for a feature. When you send the hiring company the link, have it as a custom link, pre-populate data just for them. Maybe make it session-based, so if you apply to two, have two separate instances. See, I like this kind of thinking. Yeah,
you can.
This kind of thinking is great because it's like, the more you can make your interview process customized to the actual job and the interview in the company, the better. I like that.
So what I would say in the current version of the software that we build here in the Selfpaced, in both courses, one of them is invites. And so what we can do is if you're brave and the guy has a phone with him, he says, all right, here's what I'm going to do in my demo. I'm going to create a company here. Where are we at? Okay, we're at company ABC. I'm going to create a company here. I'm going to send you an invite. And then you send him an invite from that system. It pops up on his email client. He clicks on the link and he's logged in. That's hot. I mean, that's really cool. Is it groundbreaking to do that kind of stuff? No. Is it necessary? Yeah, it's necessary for any system to be able to send invites and manage invites for people to log into. But I can tell you, you show something that they put their hands on and made it work, you can't beat that. Exactly what this guy's saying. Like if you had another way to register for the BugTracker pre-interview, it's kind of cool. Will they do it? I don't know. If you're during the interview process, that's pretty cool. Let me send you an email. Let me send you an invite. What's your email? Boom, 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 boom. Send it over to him. He checks in on his phone, and then he'll sign in. And also, the other thing that's very important is our BugTracker also works on the mobile client, so it needs to work on mobile, tablet, and desktop, and it can't just work on your 34-inch curved monitor.
That's a good point too, because if he pulls it up on his phone, it looks great on his phone too. You can say oh yeah, by the way, it is responsive and it is there is a mobile version of it. So it's another selling point.
Yeah, I know how to use CSS too. So and it's a requirement, but you can almost dismiss it. Of course. I mean, that's the way it should work.
Yeah. That's cool.
Now you bring it up. Yeah, I did work hard on that part of it. So, made sure that it works in every.
Because maybe he'll ask you a question about that. Oh, why did you do that? Or how did you do that? Or what, and again, you're right. Now you're talking about the app again.
Yeah, media queries are. So,
whatever solution you use, you can explain exactly how you did it, right?
How you did it. Absolutely. And the more you can talk about your app, and I can tell you, you're winning an interview when an interviewer asks you a question about the app you're using. You have officially won. All you got to do is answer the question about the software you wrote. You're no longer being asked the 20 custom questions that you don't know are coming. And so if you can direct them to the software and they start interviewing you based on that, you've officially won. You're controlling what we call here. You're controlling the interview. You're controlling what questions they're going to ask you because they're looking at the software or they're looking at the code you built. And they're like, oh, tell me about that thing. How does notifications work? What are you doing to do that? Those kind of things. And I think that is very powerful in that you can control the interview. And we talk about that in the book that I wrote. We talk about here in the boot camp ad nauseum. You got to control the interview, people. You got to. You get in there and you show them the software to control it so you can control what they ask you. I don't know what questions that's on their paper. They may ask you about the task parallel library and you don't know what that means. I don't know what that is. They may ask you about things terms you've never heard of. Or they may ask you, hey, I'm having this problem today. Can you code this for me? And like, it's some bizarre thing that's, you know, related to the company and you have no idea, and it makes you look bad. But if you control the interview and you direct them to your software, you limit your exposure to the things they can ask you. At least you should know the answer to everything they could ask you about
it. Yep. Cool. Okay. Well, we're about time to wrap up.
Okay. Any final questions for the road or anything like that?
Hey, there's one last one. Email invitation covered in the online course. Are they in the current one?
Probably not, but like they're going to be.
I can't remember if it's in the. Yeah, I can't remember if in the current one or not. I can't
it's
remember
which
feature. Yeah, which feature was it? It was email. I don't know if it was email.
Notifications and emails.
Oh, notifications. That was it. Yeah, that was the other one. Yeah.
We just felt like it was kind of like at this point, but now we've come to our thing in the new one. We're just
definitely in the new one, 100%.
Yeah, 100%. Email notifications, invitations, managers, all that kind of stuff is in there.
Yep.
So it's very complete, very
cool,
very powerful. Anyway, I hope this helps, guys. Leave us some comments in here if you got questions. I guess we could show them the URL if you want to go play with it.
Yeah. You can go to. Actually, I don't have a way to visually show it, but it is just. I'll put it in chat actually. But it is thebugtracker.codafoundry.com.
Thebugtracker.codafoundry.com. So, you know, and then ask yourself the question: do you feel like if you built this, would you get a job? And that's the question you need to answer yourself. I'm telling you, the answer is yes. You may have to interview more than once. It's not magic, and you got to be able to talk about it. But if you could build it and talk about it, your chances go way up, way up to be working as a software developer. People actually pay you money to work for them. So we still believe in it, and you can see why. Hopefully, you see why we believe in it, and hopefully, this will put Code Foundry in a different light. In other words, like we're just not trying to sell you a bunch of like snake oil, or we make this course way shorter.
Right.
So, you know, this is a professional level course that puts you through the paces, that gets you to a point to where your skills are up here and not down here. And that's the whole goal of whether you're online or in person. You know, in person, you get to talk to the teachers every day. That's the big difference, you know, that you get personalized feedback every single day. That's the big difference coming in person here. So if you want to do that, just hit up to codafoundry.com, apply to the next cohort starting sometime in March. If not, see you soon. Keep coding, guys. See you later.
We'll be back next week. We'll catch everybody later.